People want to dream big and discover the path to life's riches. Now, that's up to you. Whatever you think riches is, that's your definition. There's a survey that says riches and success is being happy. Well, all you have to do then is determine what is it that makes you happy and start down that path. Now, to find true success, I believe that you've got to do some work because it's not free. Everybody would love to wake up and just be happy and bubbly, but it requires some work. So I want to share with you something from my book, chapter 11. There is no self-made man. Now, most of us want to believe that we're independent, that if we set our minds to do something, simply it can get done. Well, I got news for you. Unless you look to others, you can work twice as hard to get half as much. Sometimes you need a partner in a deal in order to aid you along the way. There is nothing wrong with asking for what you want. You know, for a long time, I used to think that the path to success was going at it alone, because I was always busy priding myself on not asking for help. I was homeless. I didn't want to ask for help. I lived in a car. I didn't want to ask for help. And I almost missed out. I didn't realize how many people were willing to have discussions with me about success. You know, most people that are successful, if you ask them for help, they'll give it to you. I'm talking about advice, principles, solutions, not money. See, one thing is never a good idea. Don't walk up to a wealthy person and just ask for money. You know how many times they done got that? But if you're interested in learning how to fish, a lot of people that teach you how to fish, as opposed to giving you a fish sandwich, because they know if they give you the fish sandwich, you're going to eat it, you're going to have to come back. A lot of people have helped me along the way. Magic Johnson, Oprah Winfrey, the president. I've had some conversations with some people who have it together, and they've taught me many things about succeeding. Now, you might think that requesting help is a huge ask, but it's not. People don't mind sharing knowledge. What is knowledge unless it's shared? If you have knowledge, but you never share it, how we know you got it? And just remember, there is no shame in wanting something. This whole world is based on wanting something. You know, don't sit up and listen to some group, you know, wanting something is a sin. No, it's not. You got to want something. The scripture says a man without a dream or vision shall perish. So the day you quit wanting something, you might as well push your chips up to the window. It's a wrap. So lose the shame and you'll have access to more power. And so here's the key that I want you to tell you about. Success is all about building relationships. It's not what you know, it's who you know. Some people might not step up when you ask them for help. They might not. But guess what? The worst thing can happen to you. If somebody refuses you, you didn't have it anyway. Well, what are you worrying about that for? Well, they might say no, or they might turn me down. Ask people. You never know. Suppose they say yes. That could be the turning factor. But, you know, there are some principles that will increase your chances of getting a success. Know your worth. Don't let nobody else determine it. And don't assume anything. People aren't mind readers. They don't know what you're thinking. Don't assume they know unless you ask with specifics. And many of these lessons, I got to tell you, I absolutely learned the hard way. And one of the toughest lessons is also one of the most important that I've attained along the way. It's a lesson that everyone watching can benefit from. Chapter 13, never be afraid to reinvent yourself. My career, my entire career is a study in reinvention. You know, I started out as a comedian. That was it. I never planned on hosting a radio show, hosting a game show, or hosting a daytime talk show. I never did. Writing books, none of it. Making movies, none of it. Reinvention happens when you diversify your gift. There lies your greatest secret for success. You've got to discover your gift. And when you discover it, you got to soak it. You got to wring it out, man. You got to diversify it. Most of us only have one talent. But do you know that that's all you need? Mine happens to be to take information and immediately transfer it into other kinds of platforms. Now, when I was younger, I actually thought that I could only do that with comedy. But as I've gotten older, I discovered through diversification that it was a little bit more than that that I could also take information, immediately transfer it into inspiration. I could turn it into motivation. And many of these lessons, I got to tell you, I absolutely learned the hard way. And one of the toughest lessons is also one of the most important that I've attained along the way. It's a lesson that everyone watching can benefit from. Chapter 13, never be afraid to reinvent yourself. My career, my entire career is a study in reinvention. You know, I started out as a comedian. That was it. I never planned on hosting a radio show, hosting a game show, or hosting a daytime talk show. I never did. Writing books, none of it. Making movies, none of it. Reinvention happens when you diversify your gift. There lies your greatest secret for success. You've got to discover your gift. And when you discover it, you got to soak it. You got to wring it out, man. You got to diversify it. Most of us only have one talent. But do you know that that's all you need? Mine happens to be to take information and immediately transfer it into other kinds of platforms. Now, when I was younger, I actually thought that I could only do that with comedy. But as I've gotten older, I discovered through diversification that it was a little bit more than that, that I could also take information, immediately transfer it into inspiration. I could turn it into motivation. I can offer it as guidance. So now, sitting on a talk show, I actually have something to talk about. All the failed marriages. I got something to talk about. The being homeless. I got something to talk about. Being dead broke. I got something to talk about. Having bad credit. Tax problems. I got something to talk about. Whatever hole you've been in, I done just about drug myself through it. But I came out of all of it because I was not afraid to diversify my gift. Even the book, Act Like a Lady, Think Like a Man, it was all about me diversifying the gift. Okay, I had taken 2 failed marriages, and I had taken the love for my daughters, and I combined those things. I taught my daughters what I knew about men. Now, little did I discover that I had a little over 4 million daughters in this country, cousins and nieces and stuff like that, who needed that same information. And that was a huge part for me, to take that information and turn it into a book, that turned it into a mega star movie, and it produced a lot of things for me, but it also helped a lot of people. One of the other tricks for reinventing yourself is not letting your background become a limitation. If you take that background that you're from and never let it define you, but allow it to redefine you, all that stuff works for the good. Do you understand that you needed everything that's happened to you to happen to you in the exact order that it's happened in order for you to be the person that you are today? All that failing and getting over, you needed all of that. So it's good to be steeped in the traditions of your gift, but don't get stuck in them. Look, if your gift is baking, don't assume that there's only one way to do it. If you bake, bake. Like, you can't just bake for people you know, bake for people you don't know. You're a musician. Let yourself explore.
Is something blocking your growth? Is something keeping you from standing up tall? Guilt, shame, fear, doubt? You have to come out from under that shade. It's not going to leave on its own. You have to make the move. When you do like my father and start going forward, knowing that God's mercy is bigger than your mistakes, then you're going to begin to blossom. New doors are going to open. Talent will come out that you didn't know you had. You're going to accomplish dreams bigger than you thought. One thing that can easily stunt our growth is the people that we're spending time with. You need to evaluate your friendships. The people you're eating lunch with at the office. The neighbor you're hanging out with. Are they making your life better? Pushing you higher? Inspiring you to reach your dreams? Or are they causing you to compromise? Be mediocre? Take the easy way out? You're going to become like the people you continually associate with. The scripture says, don't hang around angry people or you will become angry. It says when you walk with wise people, you will become wise. If you want to know what you're going to be like in 5 years, look at your friends. If they gossip, complain about the boss, unfaithful in relationships, hard to get along with, do yourself a favor, find some new friends. Spirits are transferable. If your friends gossip, that spirit of gossip will get off on you. If your friends are critical, that critical spirit will end up on you. If your friends run around on their spouse, that unfaithful spirit will start to tempt you. You may not realize it, but they're blocking your growth. They're limiting your potential. It's not their fault. You have to make a change. Well, Joel, what if I hurt their feelings? What if they get upset? What if you miss your destiny? What if they keep you a 5-foot cactus, so to speak, instead of the 30-foot cactus that you were created to be? How high could you rise if you weren't being shaded by compromise, by mediocrity? I know you love your friends, but your destiny is too great. Your assignment too important to hang around people that are not adding to your life. You need people that bring out the best in you. People that inspire you to do better, that challenge you to live a life of excellence and integrity. I have a friend that treats his wife so good. He's so loving, so kind, so romantic. He writes his wife poetry. Almost makes me sick. He sends her these loving texts that he's worked on for 2 days. My darling wife, how beautiful you are today. I text Victoria, what's up? But I would rather have a friend that inspires me to come up higher than I would to sink down lower. I would rather have him challenge me to be kinder, more respectful, more loving, than to be sarcastic, derogatory, belittling. Pay attention to what you're seeing modeled around you. That's all getting on the inside. Over time, it will start influencing how you act, how you think, how you treat people. And some friendships were great for a time, but now you've come up higher. You've grown. You've stepped up to a new level. Doesn't mean they're not good people, but you've outgrown that friendship. I'm not saying to never speak to them again, but little by little, you need to spend less and less time with them. Some of the trouble and heartache we find ourselves in, if we look back, we knew we were supposed to make a change, but we didn't do it. We didn't want to rock the boat. We didn't want to upset people. But what you're not willing to walk away from is where you'll stop growing. I know a man, he's a strong believer, very talented, very influential, but he started hanging around this person that wasn't a good influence. His friends and family tried to warn him that he didn't have a good past, that trouble always followed him, but this man wouldn't listen. He always took up for him and made excuses. Over time, this man started compromising, doing things that were totally out of his character. He ended up losing his marriage. His company let him go, lost a big contract. He told me later, I knew he was a bad influence. I knew God was telling me to distance myself, but I ignored it. God always gives us a warning. Don't override it. When He asks you to do something, it's for your own good. If you'll get rid of the wrong people, then God will send the right people. People that will make you better. People that will inspire you. People that will push you into your destiny.
And then recognize that no is not a rejection. You got to get tunnel vision to reach your goal. You have to put blinders on and say, I'm laser beam focused on this. But know this, the road to success is always under construction. So just knowing when you strike out on your goal, you're going to have to get ready for flexibility because it's going to be detours, pitfalls, stop signs, men working, delays, detours going around. That has to be expected.
And failure means what?
Failure means you've now learned another valuable lesson that pushes you one step closer to success.
It means go in another direction. It means you have to go in another direction.
Failure is not the end all.
No.
People keep getting buried on the failure. I bet you that you have failed more times than anyone in this room.
Absolutely.
I promise you have. I'm willing to bet that I have failed more times than anyone in this room because I have attempted so many things that you have no idea what I've attempted and failed at. But I don't let the failures define me.
It's God pointing you in another direction.
It's clear about that. And you've got to be willing to go with that bend, because that bend in the road is the only way. Success is not a straight line.
It is not.
My goal before leaving the planet is to reduce the number of kids that are impacted by autism, to find a cure for autism, to work to raise money and to raise awareness, to eradicate it from the planet before I leave here. What's your goal? What's your dream? What is it you want to do with your life? Dr. Joelle Martin said something that I love. She said, what would the world be like if everybody lived their dream? Here's what I found about life. It's not as complicated as I used to make it. I think that life is about dreams and stories. Everything that exists, the world at one time was barren, but everything that exists, hotels, planes, they weren't here. Everything that we see every day, computers, all of the things that we see, someone had a dream. Someone had a dream of a person standing on stage and their voice being amplified so they don't have to scream and yell and can be heard by thousands. Someone had that dream of how to transport us from one place to the other quickly and safely. The clothes you have on, where you're now seated, all came out of somebody's dream, the world's greatest achievement. What is your dream? I said that you have something special. I didn't say that just to be kind. I said it because it's true. You are God's chosen vessel. You were chosen, 1 out of 400 million sperm. You have something in you that when you were chosen, when you showed up, there's something in you that if you don't do it, all of us will suffer. Repeat after me, please. Live full. Die empty. Let's say it again. Live full. Die empty. Dr. Howard Thurman, one of the mentors of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Albert Schweitzer and Mahatma Gandhi, he was a very brilliant writer. He wrote some things that really grabbed me. He wrote, deep is the hunger, the voice of the genuine, the centering moment. During the time after receiving 238 radiation seed implants, I was reflecting on his words, and these words kept me up that night. He said, the ideal situation for a man or woman to die is to have family members praying with them as they cross over. He said, but imagine, if you will, being on your deathbed and standing around your bed, the ghost of the dreams, the ideas, the abilities, the talents given to you by life, and that you, for whatever reason, you never went after that dream. You never acted on those ideas. You never used those talents. You never used those gifts. And there they are standing around your bed looking at you with large angry eyes saying, we came to you and only you could have given us life. And now we must die with you forever. And the question is, if you die today, what dreams, what ideas, what talents, what books, what music, what leadership, what voice will die with you?
Through all the things I've gone through in my life, I had a lot of downs. How did I keep the faith? It was a couple of reasons. Number one, I know from living that if you quit whatever you're trying to accomplish, if you quit, whatever you were trying to accomplish can never happen. There's not even a remote possibility. If you quit, there is no chance of it popping back up again, coming back later. Quitting is guaranteed failure.
You have the ability to do more than you could ever begin to imagine. And you, in order to break out of where you are now, it takes everything in you. Everything. You have got to decide, no, I want to do something else. No, find something that you love, not just anything. Find something you love. I love speaking. I love helping people. This is the calling on my life. And I spent time to learn
Now, when you're trying, you're going to fail. But quitting, just stopping, that was the number one thing I understood. And then number two, you have to make sure that your dreams, your aspirations and goals are so big that not accomplishing them is not an option. It's just not an option. You have to want something so big that it wakes you up in the middle of the night. You have to want something so big that you think about it all the time. You have to want something so big that it drives you to wake up when you don't want to. It keeps you up at night when you long been sleepy. It makes you show up, do things you wouldn't normally do. It requires extra. If you want to be extraordinary and not ordinary, if you want to be ordinary, live your life. But if you want to be extraordinary, you have to be extra. If you put extra on top of ordinary, that word is extraordinary.
You want to be conformed like everybody.